You guys know how it is. We all marvel at the guys who can jump high, the leapers. The guys that defeat gravity every time they jump. The guys that make us get up out of our seats. The guys that leaves us raising our hands or shaking our heads. The guys that make us believe for one split second they could actually fly. And while many all over the world are on this quest for human flight, there's something that's missing.
With great power comes great responsibility.
When it comes to running, think of deceleration as slowing down or stopping, and in terms of jumping, think of it as the landing phase. Physics tells us that as we increase our ability to jump higher, we also have to increase our ability to land. Learning how to jump higher without learning how to land is pretty much like driving a fast car without brakes. You won't be able to stop. Now before moving on, let's make things a lot easier for ourselves. Let's let anything in the positive direction like concentric, force production, and jumping up be green for go like the green light. And anything in the negative or downward direction like eccentric, force absorption, or landing be red for stopping like the red light. So why is deceleration important? Why should you care? Well, about 70% of all ACL and other knee injuries actually take place during this deceleration phase. So things like landing from a jump, a forceful deceleration, or even something as simple as cutting or a crossover. To really understand why these injuries occur, let's look at the eccentric phase a little bit closer. During the eccentric phase, the muscles behave a lot differently than during the concentric phase. During the eccentric phase, the muscles either store or dissipate energy to decelerate the body. Learning to develop this phase will not only enhance your performance, but it will also decrease your risk of injury. One of the problems is this. A lot of the lifts that people do during workouts like the clean, the squat, or the deadlift are predominantly lifts for force production or movements in the up direction. And if you look closely and really think about it, you'll see that a lot of the injuries actually take place during this landing or deceleration phase. So learning to increase the body's ability to produce greater braking forces is critical to your athletic success. Look at it like this. If you're a basketball player, landing from a jump shot has been estimated to be about 3 times your body weight. And with all things considered, just landing from a layup, not a dunk, has been estimated to be about 4.5 times your body weight. To give you some perspective, if you're 200 pounds and you multiply that by 4.5 times your body weight, that's 900 pounds of impact force during landing. And even if you are lifting 4.5 times your body weight, the eccentric phase is still being underloaded. Remember, eccentric and concentric are 2 different phases, but we'll dive into this concept a little bit more in detail in another video. Now, for all the curious minds out there, I'm sure you guys are wondering, how can these forces really be this large? To break this down, we're going to have to turn to some good old physics. But before we dive into it, there's 2 things that I need you guys to know. The first is a concept called momentum. Momentum is mass times velocity, or P equals M times V. Simply put, all it means is momentum is mass in motion. Think of LeBron running full speed. The second thing is this. In order to increase or stop momentum, force has to occur. We call this impulse. Simply put, impulse is a change in momentum. All it is a force that's applied over a given amount of time. Together, these 2 form what we physicists call the impulse-momentum theorem. When looking at a collision, the time interval of the impulse is critical. When the time interval is small, the forces are large, and when the time interval is large, the forces are small. Simply put, the impulse can happen over a long period of time where the forces are smaller, or it can happen almost instantly where the forces are a lot larger.
man, what a shot.
This is why airbags are so important. They increase the time of the impulse, which makes the forces a lot smaller, so you actually get less injured. Now without the airbags, well, I'm sure you get the picture. This same concept is also applied to landings. Think about it, a collision occurs every time your foot hits the ground when you run or jump. A hard landing will be a collision without airbags, while a soft landing will be a collision with airbags. So how should your foot actually hit the ground? Well, it's been estimated that when your toe and forefoot hits the ground first, it's only about 1.5 times your body weight. But a flat foot landing is nearly 6 times your body weight. What does that mean? That means that if you're 200 pounds and you multiply that by 6 times your body weight, that's about 1,200 pounds of force when you land flat-footed versus only 300 pounds of force when you land on your toe and forefoot first. So you can see that it's critical to learn how to absorb energy by strengthening the feet and also sinking the hips to increase the time so that the forces are smaller. Again, the goal is not to only enhance your performance, but to also decrease your risk of injury as well. By now, I'm sure you guys are wondering what you can do to help prevent these injuries from occurring. Of course, strengthening the feet are important, but strengthening the hips is also essential to your performance as well. In fact, studies show that hip muscle strength can actually be a predictor of ACL injuries. To be a little bit more specific, the hip abductors and the external hip rotators are 2 crucial areas to strengthen. If you guys are not familiar with those 2 areas, here are the hip abductors, and here are the external hip rotators. The hips help stabilize the knee, and when the abductors are weak, it causes the femur to rotate inward, which causes the tibia to rotate outward, which ultimately leads to a dynamic knee valgus that's not good. So I definitely recommend to start strengthening the hips whether you're in season or off season. It'll make a huge difference in not only your performance, but in your career as well. Thank you guys for watching, and for those that's been asking, Super Athlete Bands are now available at 10,000hours.com/bands. If you want more exercises, check out the vlogs. There's a lot of information in there. Last but not least, if you guys are enjoying these videos, a simple thumbs up is a great way to let us know.